Welcome to ReConnected. This is where we listen to stories from spinal cord tumor survivors. We aim to provide connection between survivors by telling our stories. Our purpose is to increase awareness about what life is like after being diagnosed with an intramedullary spinal cord tumor. Because our diagnosis is so rare, it is hard to find information from the patient's perspective. At ReConnected, we talk with people living with the diagnosis and surviving the surgery. My name is Dawn Standera, and I'm a survivor of a C1, C2 intramedullary ependymoma. And that's spinal cord tumor lingo for a tumor inside my spinal cord at the tip top of my spine. Today we are here to hear Kathy's story. Welcome, Kathy. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for doing this. I so appreciate it.
Tell us when you were diagnosed and where your tumor was.
I was diagnosed November 10th, 2014, and it was located at T2 and T2 through T4. And I had, at the time, I had actually been having back pain for a long time. It was progressing though over the course of about a year and a half. And I just assumed, since I have my own home-based candle business, that I must have pinched a nerve or something. Actually, 2 years prior to my diagnosis, I had bad carpal tunnel down my right arm. So we thought, at the time it was diagnosed as carpal tunnel. Went on my merry way, but symptoms just kept progressing, and like someone had lit a match in the middle of my thoracic, right between my shoulder blades. So I would go to bed at night with an ice pack and lay on the ice pack. And I was having neck stiffness, headaches, blurry vision. So I thought I better see that neurologist again. So I did. And as I was telling her my symptoms, she had a look and said we should get an MRI right away. And I thought she was just being overly cautious. It's probably nothing. But we got scheduled for the following week for the MRI. And that's when it all sort of changed for me at 4:30 in the afternoon on November 10th, 2014.
You
And
ever heard of a spinal cord tumor before that?
no. No. Tom and I thought she was making a mistake. We never heard of such a thing. We kept telling ourselves this can't be true. We'll see this, we had a race downtown Minneapolis to see this neurosurgeon, and we thought it's a mistake. It just can't. People don't get a tumor on their spinal cord. It never happens, but it does. So we spoke with this doctor for an hour that evening, and he was very thorough. He was like a professor tutoring his students on the spinal cord, everything to know about it. It's the anatomy, the different points where the nerves go, what's affected by different regions. He told us everything. I mean, it was just, quite a crash course. And he actually couldn't believe I'd gone for a run that morning, 5-mile run. And I hadn't, other than the symptoms I discussed, I hadn't thought about any leg weakness or anything of that nature. And if there was anything like that, it's one of those things where I would have thought it's just an oddity of something going, maybe my legs are tired from the run or something. I wouldn't, So I didn't think anything of it, if there was any. And so I honestly can't say if that was a factor or not, but we went and did further tests just to make sure there wasn't any other tumor anywhere else in the spinal cord, and also make sure this was primary or secondary. So we went through a battery of tests to figure out what we were dealing with.
So disorienting and takes over your life, right?
I Yeah, I we were given 2 weeks. He called me the next day after meeting with a board of specialists and said, this has to come out, sooner rather than later because it is bulging out the spinal cord and it's the flow of spinal fluid isn't there, which is causing the neck stiffness, headaches, all of it. So it needs to come out. And so we got 2 weeks to basically get our affairs in order. And Tom and I spent 2 weeks not sleeping. We had fits of anger, of just sobbing. I was questioning, God. And I'm not a religious person, but I'm spiritual. And I was questioning, why is this happening to me? My mind just kept going, why? And how did where does it come from? What's the origin of this? And I asked my husband, I'm like, God, did I eat too many red M&Ms as a child? Did I, it's just like your mind is racing to all kinds of scenarios of what could have caused this. But as we all know, it's the jury's out on what really causes these tumors, unfortunately. So yeah, those 2 weeks were very disorienting. Probably the most frightened Tom and I had ever been in our marriage. And we had already faced years of infertility that we thought was going to ruin us, and it didn't. And I thought, wow, this was more than that somehow. Because you just know somehow this is going to change you. Because I am a firm believer in, if it doesn't challenge you, it's not going to change you. So this was a challenge Tom and I discussed, knowing there was quite a few different scenarios that could happen as a result of the surgery. And we told each other, whatever it was, we were going to get through it, whatever it was. So yeah, you just don't know, that unknown
No
part
kidding.
was really
Yeah.
hard.
So 9 years ago, you had
Mhm.
surgery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What happened when you woke up from surgery?
I couldn't move or feel anything from the diaphragm down. And
Neither.
yeah, and I I felt an odd calmness though at the time. Because I was just happy I woke up. I
Yeah.
was,
Grateful, right? Really
yeah,
grateful. Yeah.
oh, huge. I felt like a huge weight was lifted because I was waking up. And when I saw Tom, I was just I was so happy to see him. And
Mm.
um I I mean, we didn't know what to expect then from then on because I didn't feel anything and I couldn't move anything. And
Mhm.
they kept trying, and everything was nope, don't feel, can't move. So we were there in the hospital and they got me up walking right away. And it took a nurse to move my legs for me.
Wow.
And, but they were explaining to me, you can still learn to walk again. And I'm like, how? I can't feel anything. And I thought, okay, so that's going to come back, the feeling part. And they said, well, that takes some time, but the muscle memory part, we can get there. We can get there for you. The sensory part is different.
Mhm.
And which I didn't think about that either.
Yeah. That was
Um,
new to me too. Yeah.
yeah. So it was a surreal journey learning to walk again and
How long
not
were you in the hospital, Kathy?
about a month.
Was that hot? So rehab? Because you went to rehab center, right?
Yep, I was in the rehab center
For a
for
month, or in the hospital for a month and then rehab?
hospital for a week, rehab for
Okay.
3.5 weeks. So
Yep,
one
yep,
week and
yep.
then 3.5 weeks. So yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was just a surreal experience um going through that. And I'll never forget that one of the first things I was given when I got to rehab was a book. And it was the Christopher Reeve Foundation book about paralysis.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I, wait a minute. Is someone not telling me something? You
Mm.
know, um, so that was jarring. And I was asking about that situation about paralysis, but I'm here to learn to walk. And they said, well, we just don't get spinal cord tumor patients very often. And, so I was like, really? But you're scaring the bejesus out of me with this book, So that was something that I thought, well, something's gonna have to happen about that. That's gonna have to get fixed, that part of it. Um,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think part of what we're doing here today is fixing part of that because we want people to
exactly.
know. I mean, my hope is not just patients and caregivers, but physical therapists and occupational therapists and neurosurgeons and life care guides can all use this as a resource so that when we enter rehab after these surgeries, we have some other picture other than spinal cord injury. Because we do have a spinal cord injury, but it's non traumatic. It's a surgical
Exactly.
spinal cord injury. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's when I found you, though, was when I got out of the hospital and saw the video and
Oh,
then got
yeah.
your book. So yeah, I was like, oh, thank God someone's doing something about this.
And luckily, we both live in Minnesota, so
I
we were able to
know.
get together and have dinner. And
Exactly. Perfect.
yeah, and we've created all kinds of mayhem since then because you were a huge part of having Reconnected be something that came true. You wrote a chapter
Mhm.
in this book, and one of the parts of the book um, that really, there's so many parts of your chapter resonated, of course, with me. But one thing I want to talk about now is I had the same experience as you did after surgery, where I would look down at my feet and
Mhm.
wonder why they were doing what they were doing. Like,
Exactly.
right foot, go forward. Wait a minute, why are you going that way? So, talk a little bit about what your body was like as you went through rehab and relearned how to walk and everything, so people know.
Yeah, I think one thing that I don't think a lot of people know or understand, even those that haven't been through this, but is the idea of proprioception.
Yeah.
Like your time, it's like, it's odd not to know the relationship of your body and the space that you're in. So yes, it's looking down to see, well, where are my feet? Because I can't feel where they're at, so I don't know what they're doing or where they're at.
So
And
you
as you
looked
and
at
I,
them.
yeah,
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
And one story you and I have shared and empathize with one another is losing your shoe and not knowing
Oh,
it.
yeah.
It's like who walks out of their shoe and not know it, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was those sorts of things that I just made the experience of getting through rehab and understanding so much more about my body than
Mm.
I ever thought to really need to understand. Um, that I think that part of it was a bit of a challenge. It was hard to get over understanding, well, why are things doing this? And also not just learning how to walk, but having to go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
was another, no one wants to talk about it, but it's true. Everything had to get retrained. And that isn't something that you want to just readily share, even though I am right now. I did in my
Thank you
chapter
for
and I am
that.
with you. But I think it's important that people understand, these are the sorts of things that our body ends up being traumatized in these areas.
Right. So the catheter comes out, and a lot of people have to catheterize themselves for a while after surgery. Some
Right.
people don't.
Yeah.
Some people deal with incontinence issues, some people don't. There's a real wide, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So it's retraining everything.
Mhm.
Um, you
Walking
know,
stairs. Remember learning to walk upstairs and walk downstairs? How scary that was.
yeah, I like white knuckling the railing,
Yeah.
to try and do that, and having my therapist, behind me, and getting
Mhm.
home and having Tom behind me, so
Yeah.
that I wasn't gonna fall. Having That's the other thing. I mean, having someone follow you around, basically, because as a fall risk, and trying to navigate the house with a walker or cane and try and get things done, that was another huge avenue for both Tom and I um, to navigate.
How long
Um,
was it, Kathy, between needing a walker and not needing a walker? When you got home from rehab, were you still using a walker?
I was,
You were, okay.
I could get around on a cane with a crutch that, was like a forearm crutch. So I could get around on that. But if I was too tired, Um, as we all know, the days fluctuate. So there were days when the crutch just wasn't enough and I did the walker. Then there were days we just got the wheelchair out and said the heck with it, you know. And these are things that I think you just need to accept. There isn't there isn't time or room to fight these options. You just need to lean into it and say, okay, this is just where I'm at right now.
You know,
And
I want to take a moment and read a section from your book because I think this is a good time to do it. So, as I mentioned, she wrote a chapter for the book, and I love this paragraph. Um, you wrote, "Who wants to let go and surrender to the circumstances around them? The uncontrollable is hardest on us control freaks. We want to know we can mold the situation to our own conclusion. But with a spinal cord tumor, you have to let go of any preconceived ideas of what your life was supposed to look like because now it starts to look different."
exactly.
That is
Yeah.
so
It
true. Tell me, so you're 9 years out now.
Mhm.
Uh, so we're at you're home from rehab, you're still walking with a walker, depending on the day, what kind of aids you're needing. At what point was it that you started becoming more independent and driving, and what's it like now?
um driving took about 9 months to get to that point. I did outpatient rehab for about 2 years after. Um, it was like 3 to 4 days a week and then tapered off. And the driving piece of it scared me to death because since I can't feel my feet and I still can't, I didn't know how that was gonna work. And so I just short trips at first until I felt more confident. And Tom was very patient teaching me how to drive again. But now, 9 years out, I'm very independent. I mean, I still don't feel anything from my diaphragm down. I can feel internal neuropathy pain, the pins and needles, the banding. It changes every day, as you know. Um, but
The Spanx, remember the Spanx? The
I
Spanx that
don't,
are
it's
two sizes
wearing,
too small.
but no benefit, no benefit whatsoever. You know, it's just, oh, so unfair. But yeah, I mean, now at first I couldn't pour my own candles. I had to have someone else help me with that and help with basically everything. And then it sort of started weaning towards I could start doing things more and more on my own, to now where people see me, they would never know anything is going on at
Mhm.
all.
Mhm.
And which I think is about the best I could have hoped for when I started this after, this journey after surgery, not knowing what to expect. I think this is about as best as what I can expect. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I'm still here. I'm still able to live my life. Yes, it looks a lot different um than it did before. But it was the same situation going through infertility. It just, okay, so our life isn't looking like what we thought it was going to be. And then this was another mountain to get over in that respect. And I think in some ways, it's these instances that make life even better for us. I think there's this huge um, space of gratitude because of what we've been through, and that we are still here, and that we are functioning, and that, no matter what that looks like for you, that you're here, you're functioning, you're still a vitally important part of our society. No matter what you
Mhm.
might be thinking, you are, because of
Mhm.
what you've been through.
Well, I think we're the people that I've met that, and you and I have mutual friends that we talk to that have had this diagnosis. There's nobody stronger to
No.
get through this. It's
Yeah.
really life-changing and we adapt. And I
Yes.
love that you speak of gratitude and I love that you speak of acceptance. Thank you for adding that today.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You know, I I know you talked with Deb
Yep.
about
Yeah.
the mental part of it too,
Yeah.
and the toll it takes there. And I don't think I would be where I'm at in this point of my journey without um the help of a therapist to help me, get over some of this, because
Yeah.
you just do. There are days you just feel helpless, but then, you can get up the next morning and say, okay, no, I'm done with that. We're moving
Mhm.
forward.
Mhm. Mhm.
A friend of
Yeah, and we
mine,
have to move forward with, I love that you said that if somebody were to see me, they would have no idea. Same experience with me. People don't know that I had it. They'd never know. And that's lovely. And it's also frustrating because I sometimes think, if you only knew how hard it was for me to not fall over. I shouldn't say that. Not fall over, but if I close my eyes, it certainly would be hard not to fall over. And how strange it is to move around in my body, and how just sort of difficult it is to get through the day sometimes. Other days I fly through them just fine. Some days I don't.
yeah,
But nobody, I don't think, would look at me and see that. Nobody would look at you and see that for sure.
no, no, which it does. It makes it frustrating, um, because people then forget and think, oh, well, she can just run over here, or it's like, no, it's not that easy. It's not
Yeah,
always that easy,
yeah. There's a little thing
you
called
know.
pacing in my
Right.
life.
Right. Well, and it's funny because a friend of mine, when I was diagnosed and went through therapy and everything, rehab, and she sent me a t-shirt that said forward is a pace. And
Hmm.
I thought, yeah, that pretty much nails it. Um, you just have to keep moving forward no matter how slow you're going, just keep going forward. And, I just love that t-shirt because it's just such a great reminder of that. Just to keep, it's your own pace. Just keep moving forward. You're
Hmm.
not doing this for anybody but you.
Mhm. And we do all need to, I think, be mindful of that because fatigue is such a huge part of this. And to not, I get frustrated sometimes that I'm too tired to do a social event at the end of the day, or,
Right.
but I have to remember, oh my gosh, 7 years ago, I couldn't roll over without help. So I'm doing pretty
Right.
good. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Same. Same. Yeah,
Well, I
absolutely.
want to, before we end here, I want to read a little bit. It's my favorite part of your book, your chapter. Because at the end of every interview, I want to just talk a little bit about what it means for us to connect with other people with spinal cord tumor diagnosis. But you end your chapter with this paragraph. It says, right now, someone somewhere is experiencing their moment. Someone's life is changing forever because of the discovery of a brain or spinal cord tumor. And it's not just a life changing moment for the patient, but for family members as well. They will need our compassion as they navigate their own journey into their beautiful new normal. And it's true, it's life changing for us and for our families. And um, you did something beautiful after your experience. You created a nonprofit, right? It's a nonprofit, right?
That's
Called
good.
Walk Talk Connect. That's how we met. And
Yeah,
it's actually Walk Talk Connect that helped make this book Reconnected possible. So thank
good.
you for partnering with me with that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, tell us what that's all about and what it's meant for you to connect with other people.
Huge.
Mhm.
Because when I was going through my early months of loneliness and confusion, I reached out to a group online and immediately got pinged by a woman in Minneapolis.
Hmm.
And she said, I had a ependymoma and call me, text me, email me anytime. I will help answer whatever questions you have. And that lifeline meant the world to Tom and I. And we thought, well, we're not the only ones feeling this lost. And so this woman, she had to learn how to talk all over again. And I had to learn how to walk. And really, all we needed was to feel connected again, to society, to ourselves, to other people going through this. So, hence the Walk Talk Connect name of the nonprofit. And each year we do an event down here in Minneapolis. This year it's August 20th. And we raise funds for Gibbon's brain tumor and their research into better patient therapies, as well
Mhm.
as understanding where these tumors are coming from. So I just feel like their work is vital to helping move the needle a little closer to what hopefully one day could be a cure that has perhaps better outcomes than what we have
Yes.
right now.
Amen. Yeah.
So so it's been wonderful to connect with other families and caregivers and talk with them and meet with people like you and also the doctors and the nurses and the social workers that show up
Yes.
as
Yeah.
well has been so valuable to us.
I was at your recent event that you did, and there was a neuro-oncologist there and a life care coach guide and other people that have had ependymomas. That's what we need is for increased understanding, and you're a huge part of that, as well as a good friend to me. We have had lovely conversations, and for me to be able to call you and just say, I'm having a crap day, Kathy. And having Kathy completely understand what I mean by that
Yep.
in a way that nobody else could. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yes, I know what you mean when you're having an angry day.
Yeah, angry spinal cord day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. And
Well,
thank
thank you
you.
for being here. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And I'm really happy to have somebody talking today about a thoracic tumor. We've had interviews so far with people with cervical tumors. And my goal is that the next interview we do be somebody with a lumbar tumor so
Yeah.
that people can have an idea of what it's like because different parts of the spinal cord, of course, when you get a tumor, it affects different parts of the body. So thank you for being our first thoracic patient.
We're the coolest.
Oh,
Oh.
I know you are. Well, August 20th, 2023, I will be at your event in
Yes.
Minneapolis. And so walktalkconnect.org,
Or,
is it?
yes,
Org?
exactly.
Yeah, and you'll have event information on there, patient stories, these interviews will be downloaded on there. And yeah, thank you so much. I know you and Tom both are the creators of that. So thanks to you and
Yeah,
Tom.
he's a great partner. Couldn't do it without him.
Yeah, amen.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And we'll talk soon. And I really appreciate you being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.